The proposal for fixed food prices in restaurants. Introduction. The drive for price transparency. The restaurant industry operates under diverse pricing models, often leading to significant variance in the cost of the same dish across different establishments, localities, or brands. This lack of transparency can leave consumers feeling exploited and unable to make truly informed purchasing decisions based on the intrinsic value of the meal. A revolutionary proposal suggests that the government introduce a blanket rule to standardize the maximum retail price, MRP, of food items in restaurants, fundamentally altering how dishes are priced and sold. This policy aims to decouple the cost of the physical food product from the cost of the service environment, ensuring that the primary price reflects the tangible value delivered to the consumer. 2. The cost-plus pricing mechanism. The central pillar of the standardization model is a cost-plus pricing approach enforced by the Food Department. 1. Mandatory disclosure. To initiate the process, every restaurant would be mandated to submit a detailed dossier for each menu item to the Food Department. This dossier must include ingredient list, a complete breakdown of all raw materials used, cooking procedure, the exact steps taken to prepare the dish, unit cost calculation, documented invoices and purchase rates for all ingredients, e.g., cost per gram of spices, per milliliter of oil, per unit of protein. 2. Fixed maximum retail price, MRP. The government's food department would use this data to calculate the baseline cost of production for the food item. The maximum retail price, MRP, for the dish would then be fixed by adding a predefined, standard profit margin to this cost of production. This MRP would represent the cost of the food item itself, and restaurants would be legally prohibited from charging more than this fixed price, with only a marginal tolerance allowed, e.g., PM 5%, to account for minor local supply fluctuations. 3. Decoupling food cost from service cost. The most disruptive aspect of this policy is the mandated separation of the food's intrinsic price from the environment and quality of service provided. Under this proposed rule, elements that traditionally inflate a dish's price, such as premium location, high-end decor, specialized training, and superior staff salaries, cannot be included in the calculation of the food item's MRP. Instead, these elements must be itemized and billed separately under a distinct service charge category. Food cost, based solely on ingredients plus standard cooking overhead plus fixed profit margin. Service cost, a separate line item covering expenses like high rent in prime areas, sophisticated ambience, professional waitstaff, and other ancillary amenities. This structure allows high-end restaurants to differentiate themselves through superior service and experience, while keeping the price of the actual meal competitive and standardized across the entire market. IV. Benefits. Transparency and informed choice. The primary goals of this blanket standardization rule are to enhance transparency and empower the consumer. Consumer clarity. Consumers instantly know the minimum cost required to prepare the dish they are purchasing. The price reflects the raw materials, not the prestige of the venue. Informed decision-making. A diner can now consciously weigh the trade-off, paying the standard MRP for the food at a basic cafe versus paying the same MRP plus a high service charge for the experience at a luxury bistro. This creates genuine informed choice. Curbing overcharging. The fixed MRP acts as a powerful regulator, preventing arbitrary and inflated pricing often observed in captive environments like airports or tourist hotspots. Fair competition. Competition shifts away from opaque pricing battles and moves toward genuine value proposition, who can offer the best service and ambience for the separately charged fee. Challenges and implementation hurdles. While the intent is sound, implementing such a stringent standardization policy presents formidable challenges. Defining standard profit margin. Determining a single, fair profit margin that works for a small roadside food vendor and a large multinational chain is economically complex and likely impossible without creating market distortions. Tracking raw material costs. The cost of ingredients fluctuates daily. Mandating constant price filings and audits for dynamic inputs places a massive administrative burden on both the restaurant and the food department. Impact on innovation and quality. A rigid, fixed price model could discourage culinary innovation. If a chef develops a more complex or time-consuming technique, which does not involve a raw material cost increase, the system offers no mechanism to reward this innovation in the food's price, potentially leading to a homogenization of quality. Abuse of the service charge. Restaurants might simply shift the bulk of their necessary operating profits into the service charge category. If a restaurant's only differentiation is a low mandatory service charge, the problem of opaque pricing simply moves from the food item to the service item. Enforcement complexity. Auditing the declared ingredient costs and cooking times across tens of thousands of establishments requires massive governmental infrastructure and personnel. Conclusion. The proposal to standardize food rates in restaurants represents a radical attempt to inject market efficiency and consumer protection into a traditionally opaque sector. By mandating disclosure and separating the cost of the food product from the cost of the service experience, it promises unprecedented transparency. However, the success of such a system hinges entirely on the ability to define economically fair baseline costs, manage daily ingredient fluctuations, and, most critically, prevent the separate service charge from becoming the new and regulated black box of arbitrary pricing. The debate ultimately centers on whether the gains in consumer clarity outweigh the potential loss of flexibility and culinary innovation in the dynamic restaurant market.